isn't really the word. It's more wanting to make sure that I can find the best way to help them reach the level of success that I know that they deserve based on their work ethic and things like that.
This is the ODU Coaches Show on News 3.
After back-to-back games on the road, back to SB Ballard Stadium for the Monarchs. And with that, we welcome you inside the Old Dominion Football Coaches Show. Ricky Ronnie, Mark Davis. Coach, thanks as always for being with us here today. So homecoming against App State. It's a Mountaineers team coming off a loss, but one that's shown it can definitely put together some success at points this season.
Yeah, no, they've played really well. You know, they've kind of bounced through a couple of quarterbacks, and now they've kind of settled on number 17 there, and he's done a nice job for him. And he was able to, they won 2 in a row, and then last week they got tripped up, but they moved the ball well and done some things. And then on defense, they've had a couple games where they've played really well.
Yep.
So no, it's a tough team. We know it always is going to be. App State's always going to be. They're going to have tough kids, and they're going to play really hard.
And they're a household name in the Sun Belt, no doubt. Let's break down some of this. So Rashad Dubinion, Sun Belt's leading rusher. He's the only guy who averages more than 100 yards per game. Part of an explosive offense. They're fourth in the Sun Belt in total offense. So there's a guy you got to key in on, but they have a good passing game as well.
Yeah, Coach Loggins does a great job. Obviously, he's a coordinator in the NFL and coordinator in college for a long time, and he does a tremendous job. And he mixes it up well between the run and the pass, and they complement each other well. Yeah, they got a couple of good guys. They got a really explosive tight end. He's a guy who can really make it happen in the passing game. And then they got a slot receiver who's very fast, and he's great in the screen game. But he also, he finds those open places down the field, and he's created a bunch of explosives as well. And then they have two really big guys on the outside. So they have a pretty explosive offense.
Well, and hey, we talk about football being a three-phase game, right? They have a punt return touchdown on the season, a guy who's third in the league in punt return yardage. So focus has to also be on that special teams phase as well this week.
Yeah, we need to play really well there. We've shown that we can, and we've shown that we can make some plays there ourselves. We've done some of that, but we need to be more consistent there, and that's going to be a huge, field position is going to be a huge part of the game for sure.
And they have a defense that can disrupt at all three levels. They have guys who can pick you off. They have guys who can tally tackles for loss. They have at all three levels, they seem to have some playmakers that you guys are going to have to plan around.
Yeah, they've got a great defensive line, deep guys. They play probably anywhere between 7 and 8 guys there, and they do a nice job. Then their linebacker core, they've got some good linebackers, some guys who have played a bunch of football for them, have great instincts, and then in the secondary, they've shown that they're long and can make plays on the ball, and so it's going to be a good challenge. We got to be locked in and focused, and we got to be really detailed.
Now, Colton might be licking his chops because they're 13th in the league in passing defense. Does that give you guys something you can game plan around?
I think it's a little of who they've played and really how they've played.
Sure.
And they've been trying to, stop the run and doing some things like that. So I don't necessarily think that it is a great indicator of who they are.
Right.
I mean, they've given up some plays that probably weren't even pass plays. And what I mean by that is they've jumped off sides, and then the team has thrown the ball deep on them and hit them a couple times.
Right.
So that's added up to quite a few yards and things like that. So, no, it's going to be a thing where we're going to have to be able to be balanced. We got to be able to run the ball consistently, and we got to be, really detailed in the passing game.
Well, and hey, you brought up Coach Loggins there a moment ago, and here's a guy that has a lot of NFL experience. When you have a guy like that who's coached at the highest level for such a long time, can you see that NFL stamp on the way his team plays?
Yeah, particularly on offense. He calls the plays and things like that. So you can see it on offense. You can see, they're trying to motion and get around and do some things that they like to do in the NFL. But he's been in college long enough to where there's still a bunch of RPO. There's still a bunch of, they'll run the quarterback a little bit here and there. They'll go wildcat. They'll do some of those sort of things. It's a good mix between college and pro.
In your post-game press conference last week, you mentioned a lack of conviction that you saw in the second half in all three phases of the game. How do you guys address that in practice and throughout the week?
The only way I know how to do anything is go back to work.
Sure.
And you got to build trust in what you're doing. And you have to trust your training. You have to trust the man next to you. And then you just got to pull the trigger. I think there were times where I think everyone knows what to do. I think everyone knows how to do it, but there's maybe in last week there was maybe a fear of making a mistake, and you can't play that way. You know, you got to pull the trigger, you got to go, you got to attack, and we've done that very well for probably a majority of the season.
Correct.
But we did, we just didn't do that in the second half of the game, and that's what happens. You can't play this game afraid to make mistakes. That's not how this game's going to go. That's not how life's going to go. You got to attack things, and so that's on me to make sure that we have that mentality each and every game. I thought we had it more obviously in the first half, and then in the second half, we just there were a couple things that happened here and there, and you just felt like guys were then afraid to make the next mistake, and we can't have that mentality.
Well, and you mentioned, hey, we've done a good job of this for the majority of the season. Were you surprised with the second half?
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Sure.
I think I believe my team. I believe in our coaching staff. And I know that we can play better football than we did in the first half, obviously, because we have done that for most of the year,
of course.
and we did it in the first half, and so we gotta bounce back. We haven't played our best football in the last 2 weeks. That's I could sit here and act like that's not the truth, but it is.
Yeah.
So we got to come back, and we got to get back to being who we are and playing aggressive and violent and with conviction on each and every play, and that's the only way that I know how to do it is by working.
You're going to get your chance to bounce back tomorrow against App State. We're going to break down some film with Coach when the Old Dominion Football Coaches Show continues right after this.
I would say we're still confident. Like, we know who we are. We just have to make certain changes, Just go back to doing what we always do, Just pushing each other in practice, having those periods when it's good on good, really challenging each other, getting back to it.
Ball's on the ground. It's going to be picked up. Touchdown, Old Dominion. Touchdown off the fumbled opening kickoff. How about Monarchs special teams getting us off to a start?
It's a play-action pass. Joseph over the middle pass.
Caught! Oh my! Trey Brown, is he going to go 98? He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's at the 10. Touchdown, Old Dominion!
Ted Alexander on the 94.1 Old Dominion Sports Radio Network. Back now here with Coach Ronnie. And Coach, you guys, may have fallen short against James Madison, but you did quite a few things well. Let's take a look at some of these plays that we have from this game against JMU. And we start in the first quarter. Some history-making play here. A 98-yard, plenty of time for Colton. Puts it right where Trey Brown can get it, and Trey's off to the races.
Yeah, it's a really nice, throw. It's a nice catch. Obviously, Trey uses his speed to get there through the end zone, and so he did some good things there. And obviously, it was a great stop. We got the punt, and then we're able to get this 98-yarder on the first play. So we were able to create some explosive plays and do some things. Obviously, this was a huge play, get us going, and it was back and forth in the first half. It was one play here, one play there. It was a back and forth game.
How many one-play, 98-yard drives have you been a part of?
I think this is the only one.
Yeah.
I think I've had a couple. No, that's not true. I've had one other one.
Okay.
Yep, against Indiana in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So not your first rodeo, but it's rare. It's rare. This rarely happens.
It's incredibly rare.
And just the fact that Colton had that much time and put it spot on where only Trey could get it.
It was great. It was great execution by both of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we talk about having time. Let's look at play number 2 here. This is the second quarter here. You see, again, great protection there, and Colton finds Dawson Johnson there, who makes a great catch. Only his 7th catch of the season, but he makes a big one.
Yeah, no, it was a great job by him. He did a nice job of delaying. I think the play, when you watch this, something that goes back and people have really got to see it is, Naeem Gladding, one of our wideouts, is protecting on this play.
Right.
And he makes a great block that really allows Colton to have that time to make that happen. And so, right here is Naeem.
Yep.
And that's pretty impressive that he's able to get that block as a wideout and do that. So that was a great job. And then obviously it's a great catch by Dawson to be able to come down with that.
Yeah, no doubt at all. And, you saw this window there in the space, so that was great. You talk about Naeem blocking. I mean, that's a big part of the receiver's game is that only one guy's going to get the ball, and everybody has their own job, and Naeem definitely did his there.
No, that was awesome. And he's been like that all year. He's going to do what we ask him to do. And he realizes sometimes there's going to be games where he's going to have 8 catches and 180 yards or whatever, and there's other games where he's not. And so he's been a very unselfish player. He's done a great job.
Yeah, a leader of the wide receiver room, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's go to defense now. This is the third quarter here, and we see Jaleel Culbreth here come off, and it looks like Barnett might get away, but Culbreth adjusts pretty well, just clips his heel enough to trip him up.
Yeah, it was a nice play. He's able to get his heel there, and that was, obviously you don't want to give up contain, but he went aggressive, right? And he's playing fast, and then we practice that. A lot of people do. You practice trying to grab the heel and things like that and click them, and because it becomes a huge part of it. We got other guys who are coming, obviously, and probably going to make that play, but that's a big play for Gilo, no doubt.
How hard is it to do this when a guy's running full speed and you're just trying to get him and he has a couple steps on you?
Yeah, it's very difficult, right? I mean, and you want to try to keep your feet at all costs, but then there's a point where you're like, all right, I got to dive here. And I think that's the point where, you got to believe in yourself. You got to have conviction when you make that. If you kind of half dive or whatever, you're not going to make it.
Yeah, no doubt at all. So great play there by Jaleel. A local kid making a play for ODU. We're going to see what plays are big against App State tomorrow, noon on ESPNU.
Extreme frustration, but to be honest, at times like this, man, you can only look forward to the work. I know this week about to be a good week. Because I can see it in everybody's eyes. You never want to feel like this again.
That'll do it. Final score from Bridgeforth Stadium in Harrisonburg, Virginia. James Madison wins the 6th renewal of the Football Town Bank Royal Rivalry by a score of 63-27.
Obviously, the past 2 weeks haven't been our best ball. I feel like in the locker room, we know we them boys. Like we still feel confident, know that we're the guys. Just gotta come back and, like I said, the process. Just attack with the process, doing everything the right way, deliver the results.
Hey, thanks for staying with us here in the Old Dominion Football Coaches Show. Again, 2 weeks on the road. Now it's back home in front of the hometown crowd for the Monarchs. They're ready to get out there and try to get this homecoming victory.
Some would say physicality and being able to stop the run, while also being disciplined with our eyes in the pass game and stuff like that. But don't really feel like it poses much challenge for us. We love the competition, just embracing the challenge and just trying to get a conference win would be great for us.
They're a good opponent, and we can't take nobody lightly in this conference. So we gotta attack them like we attack everybody else. You can't look back. You always gotta look forward and see what we can do better. Keep getting better as the season goes on.
It'll be huge for us. Winning the conference game is huge, and especially after these 2 weeks, just getting the win will feel good.
It'll be great because once we get that win, we're gonna start rolling again.
Yeah, of course, the Monarchs excited to get back home in front of their hometown fans for homecoming. And Coach, let's talk homecoming a little bit.
All right.
How do they do homecoming in Colorado for high school? You know what I mean? Any fond memories of your homecoming days?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I got two. One, when I was a freshman, we had like a cement. You probably shouldn't have this, but we had a cement track like right outside our field for like triple jump and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
It was an old high school, and I got thrown onto that in a JV game, and so I was all I was all cut up, and then that night was the dance, and all of a sudden I was like, I don't dance, so I was just like sitting there, but my people were like, dude, are you all right? Because I had like my whole entire shirt was like covered in blood because I just didn't realize it. Yeah, it was probably a bad deal. And then the other one was. People know me, know this. I'm not always the most social person on the planet.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't kind of like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I was supposed to be homecoming king my senior year.
Okay.
And I turned it down. My mom is still pretty upset with me on that one.
Yeah, because so no joke. That was my next question about.
Yeah.
I mean, quarterback of the football team. You had some homecoming vibes about you.
I didn't want any part of that because like at our school you had to like come out of the locker room and like get whatever. And I mean we're making adjustments. We're doing whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess I could have because we won like I don't know 56-7. I didn't even play in the second half.
All right, so the halftime adjustments weren't all that, in hindsight being 2020.
They weren't that big a deal, but I stand by it because I didn't.
Team over me, right?
No, it was a completely selfish act. I just didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I just didn't want to do it. My mom still is pretty upset with me on that one.
So potential homecoming king, you had it right there for the taking. You said no thanks.
Yeah, I did not want it.
Wow.
At all. Yeah. No, I don't really care for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand totally. Well, how about Cornell's homecoming? What's an Ivy League homecoming? Do you even have homecoming in?
I'm sure we do. No idea. I never. I mean, I knew we always had a game like that was like called homecoming game, but like
sure. No difference.
Literally nothing changed.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing changed. I'm sure we had a parade. Like I remember we had parades on campus. We had this parade. We had this day called Dragon Day at Cornell.
Yeah.
And the architects build this big dragon.
Uh-huh.
And then the engineers try to kill it.
Right.
With like catapults and stuff. Like, yeah, it's a pretty crazy day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty, and as it goes through campus and everything.
Yeah.
So like, I remember we had parades, but I don't like remember anything about homecoming.
We didn't kill it. We didn't try to take down a dragon at Shippensburg University's homecoming.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
yeah. And that's what I mean. It wasn't even during homecoming. So I guess I'm sure we had a parade and did some things, but I don't remember anything about it now.
Now that you're a coach and you're overseeing a team,
Mm-hmm.
what's your favorite part about ODU's homecoming?
Obviously I like having people come back. That's a great thing. And you have a few more fans coming back and things like that, and that's an awesome deal. One of the things I like is, we always go with the racetrack logo for that one.
Yeah.
And so I think that's always kind of a cool addition to our uniforms and things like that. So that is one of the other things I like about it.
Yeah, I guess as an adult, when you're overseeing a program, you might notice things a little bit more than when you were a student.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice it at all. But yeah, I mean, you have to know like the parade or no parade or how we're doing it this year because of the noon kick and things like that, which makes it a little bit more challenging. And obviously, I know it's an important part of just university life.
Right.
And that I appreciate a lot because that's what I think makes college football so great.
Coach of the Monarchs going for a win against App State on homecoming tomorrow at noon on ESPNU.
Joseph with the football, over the middle, pass, dive, catch, Brown, touchdown, Old Dominion, diving and snagging, and the Monarchs take another lead.
Joseph fakes the pitch, looking to throw. Over the middle, has a man, pass, caught, touchdown, Old Dominion, Dawson Johnson.
Oh, sneaky play call.
Well, as we get further into the season, each conference game has bigger implications. Let's take a look at this week's Sun Belt slate. While the Monarchs and Mountaineers kick off at noon, 3 other Sun Belt matchups gracing the schedule Saturday. Let's start in the West, where Southern Miss looks to remain unblemished in the conference. The Golden Eagles host ULM, which will host Old Dominion next Saturday at 3:30. Troy, also with a perfect league record to protect. The Trojans taking their home field tomorrow to host Louisiana. They're looking to keep pace with Southern Miss and will come to SB Ballard Stadium for a Thursday night showdown on November 13th. One interdivision meeting tomorrow with Georgia Southern squaring off against Arkansas State. The Eagles taking aim at back-to-back victories, while the Red Wolves looking to make it 3 wins in a row. Meanwhile, the only perfect team in league play in the East, James Madison, the Dukes, on a bye this week. That's this week's look around the Sun Belt. And that wraps up this edition of the Old Dominion Football Coaches Show. The Monarchs and App State kick off at noon on ESPNU. For Coach Ronnie, I'm Mark Davis. Have a great weekend, everybody, and go Monarchs.
Every game is important to me. Every game means something to me. Every game feels tremendous when we win, and every game hurts like I've been kicked in the stomach when we lose.